Story 1. Don't put it down, put it away. I sing this little phrase to myself, and it has made a huge difference. I'm still a complete mess because I'm not always singing my little ditty, but it has helped immensely with leaving things in random places. Story 2. When you feel an anxiety attack coming on, try chewing something, whether it is gum or a snack. This sends a signal to your brain that you are safe, as animals generally do not eat unless they feel secure. Story 3. Mixing spicy hot sauce with birdseed prevents squirrels from raiding the feeders. Birds cannot taste capsaicin, which is the chemical in peppers that makes them hot, but squirrels and other mammals can and will leave the seed alone. Story 4. Listening to different types of music can influence your psychological state in various ways. People may be aware of this, but often do not utilize it as a therapeutic approach. Story 5. For hiccups, take a deep breath in and hold it for a count of 10. Then inhale more without exhaling and count again. Repeat this one more time. After the last count, exhale slowly. This stretches the muscles that are spasming. This method might be well known, but just in case, when you lose scissors or something similar, it's common knowledge that they show up as soon as you get a replacement. So I pretend I did by saying, "Too bad I had to buy these new scissors since I couldn't find the other pair. They always come out of hiding because they can't tell the difference." Story 6. When you open a prepackaged bag of salad, specifically arugula in my case, placing a sheet of kitchen towel in the bag before returning it to the fridge helps it last 5 times longer. I went from arugula going soggy and grim within a couple of days to lasting a couple of weeks. Story 7. Thin plastic gloves underneath regular gloves, even thin ones, will keep your hands warm down to -15 to -20 degrees Celsius. Story 8. Be truthful as often and consistently as possible. You cannot live your best life if it is not your life, and this is the only way to find out who you truly are. Story 9. Any credit card worth using has a dispute resolution department that you should contact whenever a store or vendor refuses to resolve an issue. If you are dealing with a dispute and the store or vendor isn't treating you fairly, stay calm and inform them that you will dispute the charge with your credit card company. Let them handle it. It can be inconvenient for the vendor, and they are likely to cooperate rather than go through that process. I had a furniture store try to deny me a discount they promised after delivery. I had a mattress store try to deceive me with a switch. When stores or vendors are unreasonable, simply call your credit card company, ask for the dispute resolution team, and dispute the charge. They will contact the vendor and resolve the issue. In most cases, the vendor will back down. If you are polite, inform the vendor of your plan first, and they may cooperate preemptively. I have a 100% success rate doing this, maybe 5 to 6 times in the past 25 years, but I have only ever used it when I am clearly in the right and the vendor is clearly in the wrong. I have never used it to take advantage of anyone. I only use it to prevent being taken advantage of. So, if you are not confrontational, you can likely expect a similar success rate. A store or vendor is unlikely to be unreasonable with credit card companies. They have too much to lose. Story 10. This doesn't work on Amazon generally, but for most small to medium stores, especially those based on Shopify, it helps to log in, add items to the cart, and leave them sitting for a couple of days. Stores almost always send you a discount in an effort to encourage you to complete the order. This approach helps save money and gives you more time to consider whether that impulse purchase is truly necessary. Story 11. Eating 2 kiwis can help you sleep, as they are rich in magnesium and promote a natural sense of sleepiness. Story 12. Before putting your plate in the sink after eating, take your used napkin and wipe the plate down as much as you can. It only takes 10 seconds, you are not wasting any extra napkins, and it makes washing dishes much easier because you do not have crusted food all over them. Story 13. If you act confidently, people will assume you are confident and treat you accordingly, which will enhance your actual confidence. Story 14. If a jar doesn't open, tap it slightly harder with the back of a knife or fork a couple of times and it will open easily. Story 15. Rather than spending a large amount of money on high-quality binoculars, simply stand closer to the object you want to observe. Story 16. I live by myself, and it didn't take me long to learn that if I threw a pair of underwear in the center of the floor, they would not miraculously move to the hamper. They would remain there until I picked them up and moved them. Story 17. Actually, be nice to your kids. Care for them and listen to them, and not only will you mostly have fewer discipline issues, they will also call you when they are adults. Story 18. If you go to a warehouse store like Costco or Sam's Club and want to buy some small potted plants, head to the alcohol aisle and grab the boxes there. They are already set up to hold 6 large bottles, which means you can slip the potted plants inside them on the ride home. Story 19. Make the first thing you do each day an accomplishment. For example, when I get out of bed, before I do anything else, I make my bed and get fully ready for the day. I do this even if I do not plan on going anywhere. It starts the day off on a positive note and sets the tone for the rest of the day. Story 20. A psychologist with a PhD shared this advice. If you have trouble falling asleep due to an active mind, pick a large number and count backward by a random single digit. For example, start at 500 and subtract 7 each time. This requires just enough mental effort to distract you from other thoughts. When tired, it typically takes me no more than 1 to 2 minutes to fall asleep this way. I've never made it to 0. I also found that listening to a podcast can help, but it can be tricky. It needs to be something you find mildly interesting to maintain your attention, but not so captivating that it stimulates your mind and keeps you awake. Music often doesn't work because you tend to think while listening. My tip is to ensure your podcast app is set to sleep or to turn off after 1 episode. Otherwise, continuous play can lead to waking up in the middle of the night with voices in your head. Story 21. If you compost and live alone, save your scraps in a large coffee container in the fridge. It will take about a week to fill up, and you won't have any smelly kitchen scraps or bugs. Story 22. If you turn on your blinker, you can inform other drivers that you are changing lanes. This can be very helpful. Story 23. Squeegee your body with your hands after a bath or shower to remove excess water. This reduces drying time with a towel and also decreases the number of towels used if you do not replace them after 1 use. Story 24. When installing a garbage disposal, use a screw-type car jack to hold it in place while you connect the wiring and plumbing. This allows you to keep both hands free, enabling precise adjustments in alignment and reducing frustration. Story 25. Use the library. They offer much more than just books. You can often borrow DVD box sets of popular series to save on streaming costs. You can also check out a sewing machine or a circular saw for a week. Additionally, you can take home a bag of toys or puzzles to give your children something new to play with. The books are great as well. I have never understood buying a book that I am likely to read only once. Story 26. Gratitude is the best attitude. There is always something to be thankful for, even during the worst times. Story 27. Use mouthwash to rinse your protein shaker. Kills germs and leaves a fresh scent. Just make sure to rinse it out with water later, as mouthwash should not be swallowed. Story 28. You can definitely say no. Most people will not have a problem with you saying it. As for those who might, it doesn't matter what they think. They are not the kind of people you should worry about. Story 29. I have a saying I like. Want it more than the last person. I came up with it while looking for firewood in campsites where most of the wood has been picked over, but it applies to many areas. Story 30. You know that lever that sticks out from behind the steering wheel? It's usually on the left side. Press it down to indicate to other drivers that you are turning left. Lift it up to indicate that you are turning right. This flashes your lights for all drivers to see, so no one hits your vehicle. Story 31. My uncle taught me the only touch it once rule for cleaning. Stop moving things around and placing them into little piles. Touch it once and be done with it. This approach actually works great for laundry. Story 32. I got bone induction headphones, so I was able to hear my kids playing even while I was doing something else. It turns out I can also hear my wife coming upstairs when I'm at the computer. Story 33. When feeling depressed, make an effort to laugh out loud at least once a day. This helps your brain believe you are somewhat happy. Story 34. If you have a nosebleed, place a small piece of paper on your gums above your 2 front teeth for a short while. and it will stop. I learned this 35 years ago from my home economics teacher and have used it ever since. Story 35. Microwave lemon slices in water for 30 seconds. This method makes squeezing easier and extracts more juice. Story 36. If you drink a quart of bleach, most flu viruses will be eliminated from your body. However, you will also be dead. Story 37. Put garlic cloves in the microwave for about 5 to 10 seconds to remove the skin instead of peeling it. Use a grater horizontally to make it easier to apply pressure. If you are having a panic attack, stop and smell or eat something with menthol. Cortisol levels apparently decrease according to a study conducted on mice. Story 38. I don't always finish a meal when I go out for dinner. If it's a burger or a sandwich, I cut the leftover in half and put it in the takeout box cut side down so the bread doesn't get soggy. I've had bariatric surgery, so I sometimes don't finish my meals. Story 39. Participating as a volunteer at events can be more advantageous than purchasing tickets. You can attend the event for free. You may receive complimentary food, and depending on the event's size and budget, you might get full meals or snacks. Some events provide unlimited access to water and beverages for staff and volunteers. You may receive new clothing and merchandise related to the event. You can make new friends. As a volunteer, you might have a better opportunity to meet a celebrity. Story 40. When I need to stop scrolling and focus, I switch to grayscale. It instantly reduces the dopamine rush and helps me disconnect from my phone. Story 41. If you are a man, apply baby powder to your groin. Just sprinkle a little on your underwear after you put on your pants, before putting on your socks. This applies even in winter. You can thank me later. Story 42. Holding a penny on a bee or wasp sting for 2 minutes alleviates the pain. Copper degrades the toxin. Lateral eye movement halts the activity of the amygdala, reducing anxiety and helping to break the vicious cycle of anxiety-related insomnia. Story 43. Do you find yourself struggling with drops of urine in your boxers no matter how much you shake, wipe, or squeeze? Anatomically, most males have a urethra shaped like a siphon beneath a sink, some with a more pronounced curve than others. It leads from the bladder through the prostate, descends, creates a U-shape, and then ascends into the penis. After urination, a small amount of urine often remains in the lowest part of the U-shaped urethra and is eventually expelled when pressure is applied, typically when sitting, bending, lying down, or squatting. What can you do? After urinating, whether standing or sitting, gently reach into your boxers just behind the scrotum with 2 to 3 fingers and apply soft upward pressure, not with your fingertips or nails, near the perineum. You will discover the right spot and feel the last bit of urine being pushed out, leaving your boxers significantly cleaner and drier, which can also make for a more pleasant experience for women by reducing the chance of odor. Good luck. Story 44. Always think one step ahead. For example, when you are tying your shoes, already think about where your jacket is. Little things like that make a huge difference. Story 45. Ditch multi-blade razors and get a double edge. The blades are affordable. I made the switch about 10 years ago, and I have spent probably less than $100 on blades during that time. Bonus, you get a much better shave with no razor burn. Story 46. If you don't feel like going to the gym, just get in the car and start driving. That first small step makes it easier. Story 47. My father used to say, if you see it, pick it. Whenever he saw weed. That phrase is ingrained in my head, and now I can't walk by a weed on my property without picking it. It saves you from waiting and then having to pick a lot of weeds at once. However, it should be noted that applying the same philosophy to noses is not wise, especially if it's not your nose. Story 48. On trash days, everyone uses the same garbage bin and recycling bin. The recycling bin is slightly smaller. You can flip the lid of the recycling bin into the garbage bin and take both back to your garage at the same time, saving a trip. I believe I'm the only one on my block who does this. Story 49. Don't feel like you have to participate in every conversation or make everyone's problem your own. Story 50. Listening to others can resolve 50% of problems much faster than jumping in with a solution. That percentage increases to 75% when you listen effectively and understand that the issue is often not about the immediate problem, but about something entirely different. Story 51. Stop losing things. Wear jeans and use the pat-down system. Wallet in the back right pocket, keys in the front right pocket, and phone in the front left pocket. Pat, pat. Every time before you leave any location, check your pockets. Use whatever method is comfortable for you. Never put your belongings down. Always put them back into your pockets. At home, have only one designated place for these items. Keep them together. Story 52. When someone is trying your patience, address the issue immediately after it occurs. By doing this the first time, you can prevent similar situations from arising in the future. Story 53. Cinnamon powder makes ants go away. It is natural and does not harm them. It simply encourages them to leave. Just sprinkle a little bit, and the problem is solved. Story 54. Someone once told me that if you have a hard time staying motivated while cleaning or doing tasks around the house, putting on your shoes can trick your brain into thinking you are working, just like when you are outside your house. This simple tip totally changed my life. I now have a pair of shoes designated for indoor use that I reserve for cleaning and similar activities. Story 55. Place a tortilla under your crunchy taco plate, and with all the ingredients that inevitably fall out, you get a bonus soft taco. Story 56. To make hiccups go away, stand up, take a mouthful of water, and bend over with your head between your legs while standing. It works, and no one believes me, but it does. Story 57. If you are spiraling with anxiety or overthinking, start saying the Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you, repeatedly. Check in with yourself after a few minutes, and the feeling will diminish. Keep doing it until you feel you can manage the day. You don't need to believe or share the faith. It just works on its own. Story 58. A commonly recommended way to measure the volume of an irregular object is to submerge it in a graduated beaker. A more precise and easier method is to place a cup of water on a scale and lower the object into the water using a string without touching the cup. The weight increase will indicate how much water is displaced. Story 59. Bad nausea? Try smelling rubbing alcohol. I keep a few alcohol swabs on hand. It works while waiting for the medication to take effect. Story 60. My apartment in Minnesota is dry in the winter. I bought a large drying rack for clothes. I saved $2 by not using the dryer and gained some free humidity. Story 61. If you need to produce more saliva, run your tongue across your gums between your upper lip and teeth. Story 62. Judging by the people riding my bumper every day, nobody seems to know this. When you pull up behind someone at a traffic light, stop where you can still see their rear tires. If there is a problem ahead, this will give you enough space to change lanes without reversing. Story 63. I remind myself I am going to be gone in 50 years and none of this matters, but I do not recommend this approach. Story 64. If you need to sneeze and want to prevent it, rub your tongue against the inside of your upper front gums. Story 65. The cure for hiccups is to gag on something several times, like a finger or a spoon. Don't ask me how I found out. Story 66. To cook white rice effectively, regardless of variety, use a ratio of 1 part rice to 1 part water, plus an additional 0.25 cups, 60 milliliters, of water if you are using a rice cooker or a standard saucepan with a lid. This ratio applies to short grain, long grain, sticky rice, and others. Simply maintain the 1-to-1 ratio and add 0.25 cups of water to account for evaporation during cooking. If you use a wide pot, you may need to increase the water amount since evaporation is mainly determined by the open surface area. You do not need to rely on finger or knuckle methods. The ratio of 1-to-1 plus 0.25 cups is reliable. I anticipate comments stating that this method does not work for certain types of rice. It does work. If you disagree, you may be mistaken. Your traditional cooking methods might also be effective, but this ratio is consistently reliable, taking into account that finger sizes vary from person to person. Story 67. To get rid of hiccups, plug your ears and nose and take a big gulp of water. I don't know the reason behind it, but my mom taught me this when I was little, and it works every time. Story 68. Mix garlic powder with a little water before use to enhance the flavor. Story 69. Never pick up the brick. Many times, people will toss their problems at your feet and try to make them your problems. Do not pick them up. It is a hard lesson to learn, but it has served me well. Story 70. Long flight? Brush your teeth when you arrive or on the plane before you land. You will feel much fresher. Story 71. I believe I can learn to do almost anything I want. My mantra is, someone less knowledgeable than me learned it. Story 72. Brushing your teeth in the shower saves time and water and gives you the illusion that your life is organized. Story 73. My life hack in traffic, especially in heavy traffic, is to stay close to the trucks. You will never get cut off if the vehicle in front of you is a dump truck, and the truck lane doesn't shift like the other lanes because they don't need to change their speeds every 2 seconds. Story 74. I stay in many hotels for my job. If something is wrong with your room, kindly inform the staff at checkout. It is nearly impossible to check everything in every hotel room, and you are helping the next guest avoid issues like a burnt-out light bulb or a non-functioning alarm clock. The best part is that some hotels will add a few extra points for your inconvenience. Story 75. Place a single sheet of toilet paper in the bowl on top of the water before using the toilet. This helps prevent splashes. Story 76. Always be a new customer by using new SIM cards. New customers are rewarded by companies, while existing customers often are not. For example, to get £10 off a £15 spend at Just Eat, use a new SIM each time. Similarly, to get £18 off a £60 spend at Sainsbury's, use a new SIM. I have done this for years and saved a significant amount of money. Story 77. Wear a Fitbit and do real chores to get your steps in. Shopping, laundry, dishes, taking out the trash, cooking, and vacuuming. You will get exercise, enjoy a great meal, have a clean house, and feel very productive. Story 78. Always speak with positivity. No one with opportunities is interested in working with a negative person. Always speak well of others. No one wants to work with the ungrateful and backstabbers. Story 79. Wash your toothbrush with soap and warm water. You wouldn't just rinse your fork with water and reuse it every day, would you? Story 80. If you do not want to do something, do it poorly the first time you are asked, and you will not be asked to do it again. Story 81. If you are feeling anxious or fidgety, try doing something active. I have always enjoyed going to the gym, but during the pandemic, I created a home gym and spent hours each day there to keep calm. Story 82. Hit the tiny 57 logo pressed into the glass with your palm a few times to get the Heinz 57 ketchup to come out of the bottle. Story 83. When shopping for trousers, you can quickly check whether they are likely to fit by wrapping them around your neck with the button closed. If the ends meet, it's worth trying them on. Your mileage may vary depending on your body type. Story 84. When you get home from work, before you do anything else, spend 10 minutes cleaning something. You would be surprised how well it maintains the house. Story 85. Failing at one thing doesn't mean you have to quit all the other things too. There is a win in trying again after a loss, especially when it comes to dieting. Just because you got distracted and ate a chocolate doesn't mean your whole day is ruined, and you can now eat whatever you want. Story 86. If you are going through a difficult time, schedule something enjoyable for the near or intermediate future, such as a vacation, a road trip, visiting a friend, or having dinner with someone. It is comforting to know that despite the current gloomy days, brighter days are ahead. Story 87. Hiccups are a psychological phenomenon. The first one is real, and then the brain gets stuck. That's why everyone has a different, but successful way to get rid of them. The true test of whether a cure works is if you know it works. I have even tried this and half-heartedly attempted to stop them. However, if I focus my mind and repeat this little mantra, they always stop. You have to believe. You can't wait to see if it worked. You have to know it will work. I have shared this with a couple of people, and they still use it successfully. Story 88. Use a carabiner to hold your hair ties and attach it somewhere in the bathroom. They will never get lost. Story 89. To clean fresh thyme, place it in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer for a short while before cleaning. Then shake the bag. I sometimes hit it against my hand or the counter a couple of times. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for how much we need when cooking. Story 90. Be polite to call center representatives, especially technical support, when you contact them. Most of your issues could have been resolved if you had searched for the answers yourself. Their job is to follow a script to understand why you did not address the problem on your own. If it is a legitimate issue, they do not mind ending the call with difficult customers. Story 91. If you need a phone charger, go to a hotel and tell them you think you left your charger in a room yesterday. They usually have a box full of chargers. Story 92. If there is a wasp in your home, use a vacuum to remove it instead of risking being stung by swatting it. Story 93. Connecting with your local library and community center can save you thousands of dollars each year in entertainment, access to services, gym memberships, and more. You can also easily find a friend group at any age with no cost to you. Story 94. If I have a task I dread, I tell myself I can stop after 5 minutes. I never stop. The trick is convincing your brain it's not that bad. Bonus. This approach works on chores, emails, and feelings of anxiety. Story 95. Can't sleep? Count backward from 300 in threes. 297. 294. It's just boring enough to help you fall asleep and challenging enough to keep intrusive thoughts at bay. Story 96. Clean your glasses with a small amount of transparent dish soap and your clean fingers. Rinse and blow dry using your mouth. This prevents microscratches caused by shirts and rags. Even the microfiber cloths provided by the eye doctor can smear particles and scratch the lenses. Story 97. I set my phone display to grayscale. This makes scrolling through social media so dull that I stop without realizing it. This is a dopamine detox accidental edition. Story 98. When I microwave leftovers, I poke a hole in the middle before heating. They cook evenly every time. No more hot edges and frozen centers. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.